To go here? Okay. Well, I'd like to start this morning's press conference with a bit of good news, and that is I can report to you that our airport is no longer underwater. We had been receiving very high-level communications on the airport. In fact, the White House was trying to get the Army Corps of Engineers to help us drain the airport, but because we thought it was going to stay flooded, but Mother Nature's helped us out, and the President doesn't need to send in the Army Corps to help us drain it. So I was very happy to hear that information this morning, and Public Works crews are cleaning the runway to get the Sikorsky Memorial Airport open again. Seaside Park is another story. We're going to be hearing about Seaside Park at some point. We also want to just reiterate to the citizens of Bridgeport, we really appreciate all of the cooperation that you've given us, and especially your patience through this difficult time. Many of you relocated, thousands of you relocated to safer ground, and we, for that, are very appreciative, because Bridgeport, again, went through a major storm, a major natural challenge, and we did it without any serious loss of life or property, or not property, but loss of life. So we're very, very appreciative of a cooperative citizenry. The Chief can talk about any crime issues that you may have a question about. But in terms of the question of the moment, of the hour, it's about power and electricity. And I am very frustrated at the current situation. We do not believe Bridgeport is getting its fair share of attention. We do not believe our critical infrastructure that serves the region has a high enough priority from our electric utility. And we have communicated that in very forceful terms. And we hope that that changes. There are 10 critical pieces of infrastructure, including our 3 high schools, our hospitals, and our sewage treatment plants. And we are not satisfied with the progress. We are thankful that our 3 high schools have been re-energized, and we thank the utilities for that. And we are working extremely hard to open as many schools tomorrow as possible. We know that many of our parents need to get back to work. Many of our parents in Bridgeport, unlike other towns, don't get paid when they don't go to work. And childcare is an incredibly important part of the school's responsibility, as well as nutrition. Our children are suffering more than the children in other towns, and we want more attention to our children. The police department is working very hard with the National Guard and the state police to continue to keep our residents safe. We thank them for their help. We have deployed stop signs, portable stop signs at most of the major intersections in the city. And that has, as I drive around the city, people are generally obeying that. And I don't believe that we've had any significant problems based on that. Our schools are closed today despite our best efforts to open them. Superintendent Vallis is here, and he can comment further on that, but we are working very, very hard to open our schools. As I said, the 3 high schools do have electricity. Cesar Batalla shelter remains open. The other shelters have been closed, and those who still needed to be sheltered in place have been relocated by GBT and other means to Cesar Batalla. We've had a lot of questions about Halloween and trick-or-treating. Let me just say, as a father of a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, it would be very difficult for me to tell my children to not trick-or-treat this evening. They've been cooped up in the house, and as all the other children have. We are recommending that if parents do desire to take their children trick-or-treating, that they do it before dark. So try to get your trick-or-treating in from 4 to 6, and we think everyone will be safe if they follow all of the precautions that we've been telling them to do. Avoid any down limbs, down trees, or down wires, or down signs, street signs. Just avoid them. Most of those have been demarked with yellow police tape, and if you're out during the daylight hours, it shouldn't be a problem. If you continue to observe all of the safety precautions that we have. We do have a significant list of down lines and trees that'll be posted on bptsandy.com, the website for this storm, bptsandy.com, and we would just ask parents to take a look at that and avoid it. In terms of the down lines, let me just say, again, we really need more cooperation and more progress from our utilities. I want to make sure, to repeat, that Bridgeport's getting a little bit extra than the other towns because we have the critical infrastructure here, and we also have the children that need the schooling and the parents who need the schooling just that little bit more than some of the other towns. We had 150 down lines as of yesterday, and our records indicate that only 7 have been repaired. That's simply not acceptable, and we need to really step up our game. People have been calling the Emergency Operations Center, they've been calling the mayor's office, they've been calling me on my cell phone. When are we getting electricity back? This is the number to call. Please, media, focus on this number. This is the people who can help give you that answer. It's the United Illuminating. We do not control when your power is on, and we're fighting very hard to get your power restored. And we can give you that number if you're unable to see it, 203-926-4599. That is the number, 203-926-4599, that you call to find out about your electricity. We've had many business owners call us. Their businesses are shut down. They're competing in global markets. They're competing with other companies, and they can't produce product. So we understand how difficult this is for you, and we're doing everything in our power to support the United Illuminating. We have our public works crews out, but they cannot always clear a tree if there's wires involved, and we need the utility to be there on site with us. We have ample crews in the city of Bridgeport to clean up the mess, and they're working very hard. I'd like to thank Charlie Carroll and the public works crew, and also acknowledge it's Joe Gaudette's birthday today. So with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Chief Gaudette, and he can talk about any issues in terms of safety, public safety, law and order, and then Chief Rooney will talk about things having to do with safety in the fire department. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Can't think of a group I'd rather spend my birthday with than you guys. We remain fully staffed in the Emergency Operations Center here. We continue on 12-hour shifts with the men and women of the Bridgeport Police Department. Connecticut State Police will not be here during the day, but they will be supplying us with an evening shift and an overnight shift. The National Guard does remain on duty. They're working 12-hour shifts as well, and they're providing static perimeter security in the hardest hit areas here. We have a crew of officers working with our Make Safe crews with the UI. We also have crews of officers working with our public works crews in order to clear the streets. We have our mobile command post deployed out in the West End, and that will remain there until further notice. In the wake of these sweeping power outages and storm damage, we're asking people to stay off the roads, give us an opportunity to repair the damage, clear the roads, give UI an opportunity to restore the power. And I'd like to remind our citizens that there is a youth curfew in effect. It remains in effect. It was instituted by the City Council several months ago. It remains in effect, and we'd ask parents to remind their children, to take control of their children, to make sure that they are in compliance with our curfew that is in effect. Also, we do wish everybody a safe and happy Halloween, and we would ask that all the trick-or-treating be completed by the time it gets dark, which is going to be about 6 o'clock this evening. Thank you.
Thanks. Chief Rooney? Excuse me.
Good morning, everybody. One of the biggest concerns the fire department has right now is the fact that there is no power. We do have a lot of citizens out there that are looking for ways either to stay warm or cook. Last night we had a very serious issue where people were using a generator, and 4 of them wound up going to the hospital in very serious condition because the generator gives off carbon monoxide, and it was in their home. We also had another incident where somebody was cooking with a hibachi, and that family also wound up going to the hospital. So we want everyone to understand that it's very dangerous to use a generator anywhere near the house or inside the house, or cooking inside with any kind of charcoal, hibachis, or anything of that nature. So we do have several more days, I'm sure, with no power. So if everyone could tell their friends, their families, their neighbors to remind them of this issue, because some people don't understand that, okay? They don't read the directions, or they forget about it. They want to stay warm, they're looking to cook, and they're bringing these things inside their home to cook with and wind up getting into a serious condition here. And we wind up going out there, we're, ventilating the house, we wind up seeing these people go to the hospital, and it's really a tragedy. And it does happen every year, and this is the time of the year that it could happen. So we want to be very careful with that and emphasize that danger. We still have a couple of our fire stations that are running on emergency generator, and we just got power back up on our station, our headquarters, so we're okay with that. Again, as the chief mentioned, tonight is Halloween. There's going to be many, many, many areas that are unlit, very dangerous because of that. There's no street lights, so we also would like to emphasize that those that are going to go out and take their family there, to try to get it done as soon as it gets dark and bring the kids home. Okay? That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Scott Appleby?
Thanks, Mayor. City of Bridgeport's Emergency Operations Center continually answers phones from the residents and tries to provide as much detailed information as we can. We know a lot of the residents are very frustrated with United Illuminating. As you can tell, we are a little bit also. At this time, we just urge residents to stay calm. We'll provide that accurate telephone number again to you. We are trying to get as much damage assessment information back to us. We do have teams out in our neighborhoods assessing those damages. We do have a federal declaration that the governor has indicated has been signed by our president. That means that we will have the ability to seek reimbursement through FEMA. What does that mean to a homeowner? Every homeowner should safely check for damages at their property, record those damages, take pictures of those damages, present those damages to FEMA. They're changing the whole process now. We will provide that informational number once we receive that from FEMA. And the next step from our citizens is, again, when you are doing these damages and doing these assessments, please do it in a safe manner. If there's anything that feels like there's uncertainty, please give us a call again at the Emergency Operations Center. That number is 579-3829. Thanks, Mayor.
And we do want to thank the president. I don't know how many of you know it, but at his briefing yesterday morning, he asked his staff, how's Bridgeport doing? And one of them called me and told me that it felt good to know that the guy in the big house down in Washington is paying attention to us little folks here in Bridgeport and knows that we've had a tough go of it. So with that, I'll open up your for questions. Any questions? Mike?
How many people are still in the emergency shelters?
At this point in time, Mike, we have about 160 at Sizer Battalion, many more arriving. And if you feel that your safety is a concern with safety, or you feel that there is an issue or concern, please feel free to relocate to that shelter.
We have an even better number for you to call. It's toll-free, 1-800-7-CALL-UI, 1-800-7-CALL-UI. I'd like Superintendent of Schools, Paul Vallis, to just make a brief comment about our schools for tomorrow.
Okay, so great.
Well, let me just point out that our schools are ready to open. We're just waiting for electricity. As the mayor pointed out, the electricity has been restored to our high schools, including the Aqua School. So we'll make a final decision about school openings later on this afternoon, but it looks like at least all of our high schools will be open tomorrow. Insofar as the elementary schools, the status of elementary schools, it really depends on whether they get the juice, so to speak. Principals, as we speak, are going and they're inspecting their buildings. Let me point out that the safety and security and maintenance staff have never taken a day off. They've been working the crisis and they've been in and out of the building, so we're well prepared. It is all but a certainty, though, that we will keep Caesar Battaglia closed this week to provide shelter. As you well know, we've consolidated into a single building, Caesar Battaglia, and so we will not be opening Caesar Battaglia this week to afford the city an opportunity to continue to use that facility that has served us so well as a shelter. But we're ready to go. Just to summarize, it does look like our high schools will be open. We'll make an official decision this afternoon. Insofar as any of the elementary schools tomorrow, it'll depend on power, and we'll also announce that we want to push the utilities, as the mayor pointed out, to get these schools open, because at the end of the day, we have parents who have to go to work, or they lose a day's pay. And the schools do have there is an important child care function that they provide. Plus, we have children who are dependent on the schools for their most critical nutrition. And obviously, any loss of a school day can be damaging. So we're ready to go. The question is the utilities, and it looks at the very least that all of our high schools will be up and running. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor, Halloween, we talk about the lights being off. What about down power lines? Is there a concern about kids being out? Are there still power lines that are a source of concern?
There's certainly a source of concern, and we encourage everybody to go to bridgeportsandy.com and avoid them. We have to remember people have been avoiding them now for 2 days, and the numbers are getting less, and the awareness has grown. So people know where the dangerous spots are, and we're going to continue to educate them. Steve?
Mayor, you mentioned that, what is the percentage of the town being out, and how does this compare to last year's report?
71%? Yeah. The numbers that we're receiving here at the Emergency Operations Center was 71% of our communities are without power. Last year, during Irene, we had about 35,000. As you remember, the substation, the new Congress Street substation, was underwater. That actually substation came back within about 3.5 hours. This is a little different. We have multiple substations. UI obviously can answer that a little more in definite terms, but right now with 71%, about 48,000, I think it was, in our area.
How did that compare to Irene?
Irene was a lot less. We had, at one point, 35,000 that got back. Majority of them
hours.
came back with 3.5 hours. This obviously is 2 days now.
If you gave the numbers, but people just can't get through to it, I think that's where you're getting overflow is their frustration too. So,
Absolutely.
because they're even asking us, and we don't want it.
Well, people have been very patient so far. People have uprooted their families and brought themselves to shelters. They've uprooted their families and moved to relatives in the northern part of town and in the suburbs. And we've got a population that really mobilized very well. And again, we've gone through a major storm without any loss of life. And to look at the other media reports of other areas that there was much greater loss of homes and lives, and we didn't have that here. So our people have done a great job. We want to emphasize the positive. They've done a great job. We need them to just be a little bit patient. Some of this is beyond our control. Certainly the electricity is beyond our control. Our crews are standing ready to clear the trees, which is really the difference, as the chief pointed out, between Irene and here. We have many, many more trees down and wires down. Any other questions? Mike?
Could you describe the damage at Seaside Park, and has there been any damage at Beardsley?
Well, I can tell you the Beardsley Park damage a little bit. We've probably lost about 50 or 100 mature trees. Charlie can tell you a little bit more detail.
We haven't, the Beardsley Park, we can obviously view from the road, and we've looked at it. The parks remain closed, let me emphasize that. Seaside Park, we lost a significant amount of fencing, so it tells me the force of the water. We have not been able to view the shoreline after the last high tide, or the one yesterday. The seawall. I looked at it prior to, and most of the sand was already up on top of the wall, and that was before we got the real high tide. So we're asking people to stay out of that area until we can get in, and we're going to take an attempt today to go down and take a look. Yesterday it was still flooded streets. We couldn't get to we'll look at it today. Again, parks remain closed. A lot of the fencing is gone. I can tell you in St. Mary's, I was in St. Mary's yesterday, and many of the metal benches that are mounted into concrete, the bottoms of the benches were still there, the tops of the benches are gone. So the force of the water took its toll on the parks. But again, until we look at it today, I can't really give you the full assessment of what it is.
Was there damage to the beach house at Seaside Park, you know? Or?
Haven't been able to get there.
I haven't been able to get to it yet, so, but not that I know of.
Yeah, I think the damage from Irene was somewhere north of $6 million, about $6.5 million. we expect that we will be at or exceeding that number from this storm. We're not sure because, as you point out through your questions, we haven't actually been able to see some of the damage yet and get to it safely, so.
The 6.5 million is citywide or just the park?
That was citywide. That was private and public damage.